Good morning and welcome back to the Short Vol Show, live broadcasting to you live from Cape Cod, Massachusetts, home of the Pilgrims. And my face does look a little red. I think it's part of the color correction thing, but we'll live with it. I hope you can hear me. I'm trying a new mic for the moment as we try to fix our recent audio problems. Let's switch to that. How about that? That's a little better. All right, so welcome to a new year, and we are seeing more VIX pop. It's a little frustrating because the position that I've had on for a while is going nowhere. It's gone nowhere pretty quickly, or pretty slowly, I should say, rather. If we look at a chart of VXX, VXX is really kind of the same place it was a while ago as we've entertained yet another spike here. So let's take a look quick at the chart here of VXX, and we can see over the last like 2 weeks just really haven't moved very far. Just sideways, right? We get down to 16.5, then we get a pop, then we go down and get a pop. Really just kind of sideways action as we move forward in time here. Let's take a look at the term structure. It appears we definitely have volatility going into this Georgia situation. And by situation, I mean the election runoff, the stuff with the president over the weekend, and the stuff on the 6th with the what's supposed to just be kind of a ceremonial acceptance of the Electoral College vote by the Congress, which is coming up. All of that and more appears to be keeping volatility going. What we've seen actually, the actual movement of the market, I mean, we had a pretty big range yesterday, but besides that, we really haven't had big moves one way or the other, right? We've seen a little bit of movement, but for the most part, the movement has not justified the volatility. Now, we haven't gotten that move down below 20 that we thought might happen, but, you know, such is life. We're still at 2% contango. You can see in the term structure here we are inverted. By that, I mean the spot VIX price is above all the futures at the moment. Now, if this continues to stay this way, we will move out of contango at some point, but for the time being, we still maintain 2% contango. But it certainly has not been a winning period for the short vol trade. It has really gone nowhere. There hasn't been a whole lot of opportunity one way or the other for the trading the VIX. Certainly the strategy of the bullseye strategy that we talk about, where someone would sell at the money calls each week, that would have worked because we've kind of moved sideways. But the position that I had on, which I still have on, which is long puts far out, it hasn't worked because we've just moved sideways. And thus, not only have I not made money by VXX going down, but my decay per day, which we talked about before, has cost money. So it can be pretty frustrating when these products, who we know will move lower at some point, just aren't moving lower right now. And that seems to be the case. VIX up to 28, remarkably, on, once again, not a lot of real movement. Let's look at the E-mini chart for the last few days, and yeah, we had a big range, right? We had a big range, but really how much progress we've made to the upside or the downside, not a whole lot. Look, as we look back here, a month in time, we're exactly where we were a month ago, right? So that doesn't justify a ton of volatility, and it's not like we've been whipping around a lot either. So so this says a couple things. One thing it says is that if we do really start to break to the downside, then the VIX might actually perk up even more. But the other thing it says is that potentially once this stuff in the next week, actually this week, the Georgia elections and the certification in the Senate are over, stuff could come in. But I've been calling for us to go below 20 for a while now, so it doesn't appear to be happening. So take that with a grain of salt. I appreciate all the new viewers. Somebody shouted me out a couple people shouted me out on Twitter, Dan from Chart Guys, which he has a pretty big following, and so I picked up a whole bunch of new viewers by being shouted out on Twitter by him. So thank you, Dan. I really appreciate that. Dan was a guy who I always, although I'm not really a big charting guy, I've always liked Chart Guys Dan. He's just a positive, friendly voice in my computer talking about charts on YouTube for some time now. And so when I started the channel, I reached out to him, and he agreed to do an interview, and really just kind of brings charts down to the basics. And I'd suggest you check him out, Chart Guys Dan. And thanks again for shouting me out. I really appreciate that. Yeah, so here we are, pretty flat as far as the futures go. Right now we've got VIX 28, but all the futures really around the 27 level, and once again we're in this kind of a spike, although we haven't really had movement in the market to justify it. It feels more like just nervousness out there on the, for a lot of people, and obviously if the VIX is moving higher, what that means is that people are buying puts, and the SPX people are nervous, and thus the VIX has popped higher. But we haven't had the actual market moves, so we'll see if we start getting the market whipping around, or if this is just another one of those couple days events. If you look behind me here, you can see the VIX chart over the last day. We've gone from 23. We had that spike about a week or two ago, 2 weeks ago actually, and then we've got this spike now, and that one disappeared right away. We'll see if this one disappears right away. This is the second day, though. We're still before the open, but if things continue, this will be a second day of selling, thus reflected in a second day of the VIX moving higher. That spike we had about a month ago or 2 weeks ago, you can see it's just a one-day event. Generally, spikes in the VIX are only 1 or 2 days events, so we could definitely see the same thing happen with this particular spike right now as we saw that day. But it certainly is frustrating when you get a situation like this where the market is doing nothing, it's doing nothing, and yet the VIX remains firm, and you never get that payday to the downside. Now, certainly these products will move lower at some point, but in the meantime, it's like all this capital is caught up in the short VIX trade, and it's not yielding any results. So a little frustrating there, at least for me personally. We have noticeably seen gold move higher today. Taking a look at the gold chart, noticeably higher here. The other thing that's pretty remarkable, I don't talk about it a lot, but Bitcoin has been unbelievable. Bitcoin was up to, I think, 33,000 at one point yesterday. Right now, Bitcoin around 31,000, and just amazing. I was not a believer in Bitcoin for so long. I'm still not a believer in it, but just amazing. You could have bought Bitcoin for $5,000, I think, like a year ago, and tripled your money, more than tripled your money. And who would have thunk? I don't know how to value Bitcoin, so I don't play it. But really amazing gains there with Bitcoin. Let's take a quick look at oil. Oil's been inching higher for a while now. And when you think about oil inching higher, you think about inflation. There's been several signs of inflation creeping into the economy recently. And that kind of makes sense with the pandemic and some limits to production because of the pandemic, etc. We'll see what happens now that is this the end of the president affecting the markets? Is that going to come to a head? It certainly seems like that politically, something's going to come to a head this week. With you have the Republican Party kind of tearing itself apart at each other's throats, back and forth. Do we go for do we continue to support the president, or do we acknowledge the results of the election? And it seems inevitable that the results of the election need to be acknowledged, because just the court cases have gone nowhere. However, and it seems like most people kind of know that, but the president continues to be the most influential leader in the most influential person in the Republican Party, and nobody really wants to step on his toes. It's safe to say he hasn't taken the results of the election well, and so this continues to be a loyalty test type thing in the Republican Party, and it has kind of bled into the markets. My interview with Mark Sebastian a couple months ago, I was asking, where does politics fall into your view of the markets? And he said it doesn't fall in anywhere. And I think we have to acknowledge at some point, yes, partisan politics does have an influence on things, especially when we've got this craziness that's going on right now. So we'll see if this stuff is resolved this week. Now, I have a suspicion that volatility will come in on the certification of the election, even though it's supposed to be just a technicality this week of certifying the election. It's turned into a thing, and certainty. The market likes more certainty, and we will have more certainty after the election results are certified in the Congress, and we should see vol come in a little bit. Obviously, there's continued concerns over different strains of COVID and whatnot, and so we'll have to monitor that carefully. But for right now, we are back up in the VIX, back up to 28. For me, as far as the long-term position, as long as we kind of arrange ourselves into contango here, right now we're at 2% contango, but if we can just maintain contango somehow, and all that really takes is the VIX up move being relatively organized, then this position that I have on out to next September will work out eventually. It's very hard to be patient when it just is slowly bleeding over time like it has been. I do have an interview lined up for this Thursday, which I'm excited to bring to you guys, and we will be working on. I have this kind of jerry-rig setup with a mic attached to my shirt here for now to try to get you better sound. I figured out it probably is the microphone that's been causing the problems, and we'll work on that. Good morning, Spencer. Good morning, Dasboff. What's up? Warn the idiot masses. Hopefully it sounds better. Let's see. Last time VIX cash was 28 was 324 point terror. Yeah, we really haven't. The VIX doesn't. It's not acting the way. It's not justified by the way the market's been moving. So, does that mean? That means one of two things: either the market's going to start moving like crazy very soon, or vol's going to come way back, crashing back in really soon. So one of the two is going to happen. We will find out which. If I knew which, then I could tell you, but nobody knows exactly what's going to happen. All right, thanks for watching. Best of luck for trading today, and we will see what happens moving forward. We'll monitor this situation closely. Happy New Year's to everybody, and I'll see you in the next one. Thanks for watching. See ya.
You're watching Famous Days.